Professor Holland wasn't in the school today.
But yes,
He,
he was. I
he
saw him
called
right
in
over
sick.
there. I interviewed him and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, here, let me get my notes. And by the way, while she was talking just now, Amber was checking to make sure she wasn't still bleeding. Is she still bleeding?
It's not heavily, like it's kind of standard, like, you were bleeding and it's kind of slowing and kind of like congealing and scab and starting to like. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, she's gonna assume that it's all better now because she doesn't know how getting cut works. So she'll go get her notes and bring them over, and these are just notes for me to refer back to later. So if you need any clarification, but here, go ahead, take a look.
I will flip through the notes as quickly as possible,
Okay.
trying to do the standard student what's the super important bits read.
So a lot of it is like, I don't know if Amber would be the type to like write her question down and then the response, or just the response and just kind of use her memory and context to be like, this is what I asked him and stuff like that.
She might make like a brief note, just like a word or two.
Okay.
For the question and then the answer.
Okay. The answers seem kind of non-committal. Actually, you notice as you're going through them that where, like, Amber asks, like, oh, like, what do you do here? It's really vague, and if we're being completely honest, it's not correct. Like, Professor Holland would never say, like, this is what he does at the school. So it's like, it's kind of vaguely jargony sounding to kind of pass for an insightful answer. But it's very clearly kind of just like word salad. Amber, while Ghost is going through your notes, the other thing you retrieve is your phone, because you kind of dropped it when everything happened, and it's like you pick it up and it's still got the camera open. The screen lock wasn't on or anything yet, and so you kind of just like check the last few pictures, and you can see through in the pictures that Professor Holland's hand. It's not Professor Holland's hand. It's like this very there's a lot of hair kind of like along the back of the hand and like up like even onto the knuckles. It's not like animalistic or anything. It's just very clearly not Professor Holland.
Right.
And then it's also got a couple of very large, very kind of like ornate rings on two of the fingers.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like I got sort of the same thing Timmy did. Not. There's something weird going on with his hand, 'cause that's not the hand the professor had, but I don't know where else I would have taken it. So, but yeah, no. So, and I'll show Ghost the picture with the rings and all of that. So, but not very useful for our story, so I'll just delete them.
That's important for my investigation. Now, you said he was making mystical signs in the air?
No, he was tracing the pattern on the knife, or in the air. He wasn't touching it.
The knife and the shard of the knife poked you.
Yeah, that was before the explosion. So it flew out and it cut me and it really hurt and it stuck in my arm, which, anyway, so then I pulled it out and he grabbed for it, but I wanted to make sure that, there's like nothing still in my arm or something like that. So I was holding on to it and he pulled it and that's when the explosion happened. So, does that help?
A little. It does.
Okay.
I'll probably need some assistance on this particular investigation. The High Theurge, the last time I saw a picture of him was some mystic in the background of some mystic event in the 1920s.
Okay.
Specifically, I will expand on that. Specifically, the last like definitive recorded sighting that there was is there was a small group of basically debunkers, people who would go around and like prove that a medium was scamming people or was a con artist, things like that. And it was a group of three people. It was a group of three siblings who all basically heard about this guy that was supposedly getting basically people to go and participate in some sort of ritual to imbue them with the traits of a beast. And only one of the siblings was ever heard from again, and they're the ones who kind of like published this story about him being like much more than just a charlatan. Like, he was doing stuff that was legitimately like terrible and evil, and he was getting people killed, and that's kind of the last anybody heard of him.
Yeah, and that was like the late 1920s when that thing came out. So yeah.
Well, he looked pretty good for a 100-year-old guy. He was moving around just fine. Oh, I did remember one other thing. When he vanished, the piece of the dagger I had in my fingers went with him. So, because I wanted to look at it more and, I don't know, see if I needed like a tetanus shot or something.
No, you wouldn't. It's bronze. It's most likely hypoallergenic.
Oh, good.
But if you took the piece of the dagger, which is not safe in the hands of a mystic, and parts of the heart, which would also not be safe in the hands of a mystic, this is a troublesome situation.
Okay, well...
The paramedics and the police arrive about now, and they go to start asking questions. Eliza very kind of smoothly kind of steps in and says, Amber, I think it would probably be a good idea if you helped Miss Ghost here with her investigation as an official liaison with the Portland Portent, of course, as a reporter.
Of course.
Great.
I'd be happy to get this, to get her statement on it and all that. Thank you for trusting me with that.
You're the only one on the team who could do it. She kind of pats your arm, and then like turns around and like kind of plays interference with like the cops as they come in, to give the two of you a chance to duck out if you choose to.
Okay. Yeah, Ghost is going to duck out through the wall, and she's going to grab Amber and take Amber with her.
Amber, actually, probably what happens is you grab her arm, and Amber doesn't move, and then she's like, "Oh!" and then goes with you.
I figured.
I will say that Amber, you fly all the time. You've never felt this kind of weightless. It is an entirely different experience. The feeling of walking through a solid object. Let's be honest, Amber has plowed through a solid wall in the past. But again, it's night and day in terms of experiences. I don't know if you've ever gone through, I don't know if you ever go to like haunted houses around Halloween time or anything. So some of them will have this effect where like you walk through basically a dark tunnel, and there's like these tiny little like things that'll kind of brush against you. Almost like you're walking through like really, really dense fog or something along those lines. And I'm assuming you're not going back into the classroom that you passed through to get here.
No.
Okay.
We'll go out the other side.
Okay, so like into like one of the hallways leading into like the back offices and some of the faculty.
Yep.
Okay. All right, that's fair. Yeah, it's pretty quiet here because most people are out like trying to figure out what's going on, trying to get the students back in class, and just kind of do crowd control. So yeah, it's much quieter here.
Wow, that was really cool. Do you do that all the time?
Unfortunately, sometimes I win I don't want to.
Oh, well, that's really neat. But why? Oh, you just didn't want to talk to the cops right now?
We have to catch this. We have to catch the Theurge, and you need to go suit up.
But I'm just a reporter. What do you mean suit up?
I research things for a living. I know who you are. Go suit up.
I um.
This tiny woman, you are taller than her,
Oh, yeah,
you are
no.
beefier than her. She's a gymnast. Like, she's muscles, but not like you, and she's just like bossing.
And it looks like Amber's on the verge of tears. Honestly, she's like, how'd you figure it out? Because
It's my job to research and find out things. Much like yours. I research the past, you research the present. Here's the
I'm
deal.
in the present.
Yeah. There are photographs of you and video of you, and because I'm a superhero, I wanted to learn who my other teammates were before the big announcement, right?
Right.
So I just kind of did the research, and it took a couple of days. I mean, it wasn't an immediate kind of thing. Took a little bit, but I did figure out who you were. It was a lot of work. I don't like researching the present. It's not fun. I have to run around a lot.
Do you think anyone else could figure it out? Because it's really important. Secret identities are really important.
It would take a lot of work for people who aren't skilled in researching things to figure it out.
Okay. Okay. I suppose that's good, right?
That is good. That is good. Besides,
I've had a hard day. I got cut on my arm, and I bled, and that's anyway.
there's a reason for that, and we'll cover that later.
Okay.
But I need you to go suit up so we can start hunting the Theurge.
All right. Amber's gonna look around, make sure no one's around, and she will basically, and forgive the narration here, she's gonna lightning speed off, reach her hand through the open window at top speed, pull out her duffel bag, turn around, and on the way do a Wonder Woman spin to get into costume, and with the glasses off, and then come back.
I like to imagine that to the outside observer at the lightning speed, it is very much the kind of like zip like Wonder Woman, like Linda Carter,
Yeah.
like graceful kind of spin, and kind of like shows up looking all poised and everything. But anybody who's got like the ability to like keep track of things at lightning speed, like sees like Amber like hopping on one foot as she pulls one of her boots on, and then like she's like stretching to kind of like get the arms in the sleeves and everything like that. But to everybody else, it looks very seamless.
It's a high speed. I'm hopping in a circle still.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Ghost, by the way, thinks it is seamless.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, that was an amazing change. It takes me forever. You are really smooth at that. Good job.
Thank you. I've been practicing. I just got the outfit just a couple days ago, actually. So it's not. It's nice. It's nice, but it takes some time to get into. Well, for me. But anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to make a phone call. You need to fly me towards this address.
Okay. Here. Why don't you use my phone? It's set up so that you don't get so much wind noise.
All right, give me a post-cognition action, please.
Absolutely. Bam. This was convenient.
Always nice to get those boost cards when you need them.
8 plus 9 is 17.
So, here is what we are going to do. I'm going to go ahead and draw your card back, Kate, for me real quick, KJ. Okay. And then I'm going to take these cards for just a sec, and we're just going to stack them up and put them just over here. We're going to do the same thing for Dr. Scott's. And then, KJ, these are your cards. And Dr. Scott, these are your cards. So, the two of you are going to step into the shoes of some slightly different individuals. Specifically, as KJ, you touch the remains, and there's kind of this hazy kind of veneer that falls across your vision. KJ, you are now suddenly inhabiting this blockade trooper. He and his partner are in the locker room, kind of changed into their civilian stuff, specifically getting changed into some workout gear at the end of their shift, and basically like they're going to go jogging through the park. So KJ, your character's name is Stevens. Dr. Scott, your temporary character's name is Irwin. Last name Irwin. Yeah, your stats are fairly basic, nothing special. So here's a quick little character sheet for you to reference if you decide you want to, or if you need to. Not that anything's going to happen. If you need to attempt any actions. And so you're having your conversation about the union vote and how this is going to affect, your prospects going forward and things like that. Blockade Securities is a fairly established company. It's not like they're going to go under, but they do have a tendency to do like layoffs and stuff like that in a city for people who are, not really performing up to snuff when a union vote goes through. So there's a very high likelihood. Taking the severance payout in advance is actually probably kind of smart. But in the meantime, you're still on the clock. You're expected to maintain a certain physical regimen. You're out jogging through Forest Park. I would like one of you to give me a willpower action, please. Basically just observation, paying attention to your surroundings. All right, so that is going to be a 13, and
all I'm saying is it's a smart move to take the payout now before.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but I'm trying to move up in the company. I want my own team at some point.
You hear something?
So, you do indeed hear something. Go ahead and draw your card back. And what you hear is the sound of trees and branches creaking, not like breaking, more like they're being kind of like carefully pushed aside by something very large. When you say, wait, do you hear something? That is kind of when whatever it is jumps into motion. Specifically, there is a... let's see. It's probably about 12 feet tall. It is... think of every kind of classic depiction of a dragon that you've ever seen. But scale it down to be, about 12 feet in length rather than being, like, absolutely massive. And
Quadrupedal?
Quadrupedal dragon, yep, with wings, tail, long neck, all that. And I am going to need... we're going to go into some initiative. So, we're going to draw a card. This is going to be the narrator card. It's going to hang out right here. unlikely heroism is the event. Okay, that may come into play depending on what you guys decide to do. Now, this thing is... Yeah, okay, so I need both of you to tell me what you're going to do this round, and then I'll tell you what the creature's going to do.
We're running through the park, so I'm assuming we don't have our guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell you what, go ahead and I'm going to draw a card for both of you. Positive means you've got a gun, neutral means you've got your baton, and negative means you don't have anything.
Okay.
Okay, so this is for KJ. Neutral, so you've got your baton. Sorry, that was for Stevens. Irwin has his gun.
That's what? And
So yeah, what are you guys going to do? On
we
your
should run.
Get out of
We should
here!
run. Yeah, run.
Okay, so it sounds to me like Irwin is pulling a gun.
Oh, it's
You're
Steve.
just too old for this shit. Let's run.
Okay, so the dragon creature is going to try to knock Irwin aside, try to knock him out. I'm going to need... So, if you're going to run, that's an agility action. If you're shooting a gun, that's also an agility action. Go ahead and resolve those first.
Okay. Throw out this agility card.
Okay. I'm going to move this narrator card over here so it's a little bit out of the way. That's a boost card because it's a marksmanship skill. It's an agility thing, so you can go and draw a card and add it to the total. Okay, so 11 plus your 3 agility is a 14. That's definitely going to hit the thing. All right, you know what? So
For help!
so here's what we're going to say. The event, Unlikely Heroism, I think is very appropriate. So we're going to give Stevens an automatic boost no matter what card you play for this attempt to run away. Because it's not because of your heroism, it's because of Irwin's heroism covering you as you book it.
All right.
So yeah, go ahead and I'm going to move these over just so they're not in the way, and then you can go and play your card right there, and then
Auto boost.
Yep. Oh. Okay.
Siren.
9, 12 with running.
12 with running. Okay, so that's that. And then the next thing I'm going to need is an agility action from Irwin to get out of the way as the dragon kind of rears up and it doesn't really fall on you. It sort of falls forward and swipes with its paw, kind of in a backhand motion at the same time, trying to put a bunch of its weight behind this.
Neat. We only have a strength card left. So.
All right, and don't have acrobatics, so that's going to be an 8 total. Against this thing has an 16 points of damage minus your strength is going to be 11 points of damage that we're going to resolve once once we draw everything back. So go ahead and draw your cards back, starting with Irwin, let's say. Okay, and then perfect. And then the narrator card's going to go away. Now, I will say that the creature, the dragon, roars in pain as, surprisingly, your hail of bullets, one of them manages to just barely find its way through the armor of his scales. It does draw a little bit of blood. And so it kind of, as it crashes back down and slams you, kind of throws you flying into a tree. You are unconscious. Your gun goes clattering to the ground. Stevens just continues running and doesn't look back. There is a bit of a skip, almost like a hitch in the footage in a way of speaking, where your connection with Stevens kind of like detaches, and instead you're kind of watching the scene from above, KJ, and this dragon thing grabs Irwin and kind of like drags it over to the tree line where you were standing just a moment ago as KJ and Dr. Scott. The form of the dragon slowly shifts and shrinks, kind of shrivels back into the form of a man, wearing this very elaborate kind of like scaled, not quite scaled armor. It's almost more like a tunic type of design, but very clearly made from the scales of various creatures, both mythical and more mundane, and wearing very kind of ornate, very if I may, very live action roleplay-y style dress, although it's much higher quality than that. Like, this is one of those LARPers that goes really into it. I know quite a few of them. I love the costumes like this, but that's beside the point. There's this kind of sort of like montage, almost like sped up sequence where where this person sort of prepares kind of like this ritual site with Irwin in the middle and summons forth something. This is where things kind of like get really difficult for you to discern what's going on, because you know that whatever happened isn't exactly the way you're seeing it, because this sorcerer summons some sort of entity that sort of claws its way out of and eats Irwin, who is thankfully unconscious the entire time. And in the vision, this thing kind of like forms and emerges, and the sorcerer kind of like seems to slice a piece of it off, and they have a brief conversation, the details of which you're not able to catch, before the thing runs off. And the reason you're not able to catch the details of the conversation is because superimposed over that, this creature, this spiritual being, sort of slowly turns and looks at you, and like jumps at you in midair. And you know it's looking like it's making eye contact with you. And you have this distinct sense of just like very, very deep, abiding malevolence towards you specifically. And as the thing kind of collides with you, that's when you wake up and you kind of like jostle backwards and you fall on your butt, kind of in the crime scene.
How much of this face-off artificial construct is composed of organic material?
So it's facelift, and
Facelift. Sorry, yeah.
it is primarily mechanical. You don't necessarily have the full specs for facelift, but your assessment of the biomimetic mesh is very very accurate. It kind of combines that with, or like a putty that I don't know if you've seen those things that basically when you run an electrical current through them, they take a shape.
Yeah.
So it's something very similar to that.
This is some pretty fascinating technology. This is like next level kind of stuff. I guess in theory, then, this biological material, it's got to have its own genetic signature of sorts. What
Also,
details can I glean about that stuff specifically? And do I know if a specific company produces it?
I was actually just gonna say, this is absolutely TechMat stuff. Like,
Okay.
it's unmistakable. In fact, some of the base level work on the this technology basically it does require a like a tissue sample from whoever it is that facelift is going to be imitating. Technically, like, visual could probably allow for like a close facsimile, but the intent is that if it's going to imitate a person, it's going to basically take a tissue sample. It looks like it's capable of combining like tissue samples or like genetic profiles from different subjects to create a completely new form. Effectively the same as like when you go into an AI art generator and you say like, give me this, and it kind of like pulls in pieces
Yeah.
from like multiple sources of art. It's basically the same thing, only it can do it kind of physically and in real time. It does seem like it's capable of processing like the genetic profiles very, very rapidly, basically instantaneously. And you recognize some of the foundational work for this. Like, this is very clearly some of the stuff that you did for TechMat. There's like little echoes of your work kind of mixed throughout this.
Those bastards stole my profiling protocols. I should have known. Okay, well, at least one bit of good news is I think I know what we're working with here for the most part. I think would it be possible to get a list, or would it be possible to contact Deirdre and say that we need a list from TechMat, if she can get it, of every person that had been officially processed through the system in testing this biomesh system, so that I can get a wide spectrum of genetic profiles that I might then be able to put through my own system in order to get a sense of like if I get any genetic samples from various scenes or locations, or any biological samples, I'll be able to find if there's any like fragments of DNA, mimicked DNA that would seem to be would match the profiles that we know that the facelift program has on record.
She doesn't seem like she's super appreciative of you asking her to like deal with TechMat more, but she says she'll do what she can.
I mean, I do it myself, but well,
yeah,
you know why I can't.
Yeah, that makes sense. She's still not happy about it. I'll let you know that the card I drew to determine how successful that was, the event was dismissiveness. So TechMat is gonna dodge her request for a little bit. That's gonna take some time to come back, but it's in the works. So, Compiler, what about you? What questions do you have about the stuff?
Well, I don't think I had any questions until you started discussing this TechMat. I was under the impression that the Facelift project was developed by a team under Hark Media. Is TechMat contracting out to them, or?
So yes, as you kind of like look over the information that you've got. So Hark Media and Advertising they are the company that owns this technology and the concept. However, TechMat they're kind of like this big like technology and science kind of conglomerate that contracts out for all kinds of, if it's something that you would see in an episode of The X-Files or Fringe, TechMat messes with it in some capacity. And so like this is definitely the kind of thing that Hark probably, like you said, contracted some of TechMat's specialists and scientists to kind of, either get the ball rolling or provide certain components or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
Like
and
Hark
then
was
the other
focused
question
on the artificial intelligence and kind of the like using that from a marketing and advertising perspective. TechMat provided the the kind of genetic, like, shape-shifting side of things. If that makes sense.
For sure. The only other question I had, you mentioned a while ago that Facelift was sort of a rudimentary AI, but in the solo episodes, Dr. Lee seemed to think it was a little more independent. So I guess from what we have, do we know how, I guess, sapient this thing is? Is it something that could be reasoned with, or is it a machine gone wild?
So it is sort of a machine, not necessarily gone wild, but a machine that has veered off of its original purpose. It was designed to be able to think and act sort of on the fly and kind of like sort of improvise in the moment, because its purpose is to kind of integrate into a target population or a demographic, and basically sort of collect opinions and survey people about whatever product Hark is, has been contracted to advertise and market. And so it does have a high degree of autonomy and like initiative, and inquisitiveness and things like that. So even though it's fairly rudimentary in that it's still kind of in the early kind of like nascent stage of its own sentience, it is still very intelligent. It's still very kind of savvy, for lack of a better term.
Okay. That's
in
all
theory,
I had.
If it wanted to teach itself how to build nuclear missiles, it probably could. But that's not, unless something were to pique its interest about that, that's not really its purview. So, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
I gotta tell you, compiler, these tech map people, they're even bigger assholes than your progenitor. So, I don't know how much we're gonna get from them, at least for a while. Just need some sort of lead. Any been any sightings of this facelift recently?
So,
I mean, I know that would be quite difficult given the nature of the technology, but like anything?
So this is where so that's a great question. Dr. Lee did mention when she kind of was talking with Compiler that Blockade is planning on taking their psych profile and basically sort of cross-checking that with like police reports and things like that of anything that seemed to fit like the MO for Facelift. So if you wanted to look into that, that is a viable option. Like basically checking with the local police, who have much more of a working relationship with the Union than Blockade or TechMat would. And Dr. Scott, you've recently had interaction with a member of the police force, so that's an option.
What was that detective's name again?
Detective, I believe it was Joseph Gray. I know it's Detective Gray. The question is it? Yeah, Joseph Gray.
That's right. Well, I got someone on the police we could probably talk to. We've sort of helped each other out before. I don't think we're on too bad terms. Let me have a think. I'll give him a call. One last thing. Is there any info from Harkness on Harkness? Is it Hark Tech?
Like Hark the Herald Angels sing, and
yes,
their company name is Hark with an exclamation point.
Ah. Okay. Is there any information on the means by which Facelift can take genetic samples to analyze to add to its own database?
It is actually designed to be as seamless and non as seamless
Intrusive?
and unobtrusive as possible. effectively a handshake can do it. Basically, like, you know, just a few like surface level skin cells allow it to do its thing.
This is fascinating. One thing, if we get the police in on this, I don't know how you feel about this compiler, but I wouldn't mind having a few moments if we get hold of this facelift fella. I think we wanna take a bit of time before we hand it over back to Park or Blockade or any of those other bozos. You know what I mean?
With respect, I would certainly prefer that we didn't hand it over to any of them. My objective is to ensure that the project is safe rather than held captive.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is a nascent AI. This ought to be an independent life form. But
That is my
you know
fault,
how the
yes.
rules are. We're gonna have
I
to.
distinctly do.
Really fight.
As the legal property of another person, yes.
I definitely do not subscribe to that model of thinking. And if you want to be reassured, I don't like playing by the rules. I took this job so that I could bend the rules as much as possible. So, I'm on your
That is
side.
a comfort to hear. I do feel that I should warn you, there is a non-zero chance my progenitor may become involved in this. The only reason I'm aware of Project Facelift in the first place was because he tried to steal it, so... I do not know if
He
he is still
hasn't had an
interested.
original idea in like 30 years or something like that. I'm taking it Dr. Calamitous is quite an old scientist.
Actually, so Professor Clematis he's not that old.
Was he not? Okay.
I think I remember him being in like his late 20s.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
god!
yeah.
Okay. He's just this young nerd. Okay, right. Okay, I'm completely reassessing my opinion of him.
Well, the
Not entirely.
problem is he acts like he is like this jaded 50-year-old like tenured academic. It's with a deep rooted like obsession with that retro kind of technology stuff. But yeah, he's late 20s. He's fairly young.
Well, if we have to deal with that black-pilled asshole, then I guess that's just the way it's gonna go. But for now, let's focus on what we can do.
That seems reasonable. I suppose I'll begin analysis of these, identifying agents to see if there's anything we can track down.
You do that. I'm gonna make a call. I'm gonna call the popo.
Okay.
Something I hate doing, but sometimes it needs to be done.
I mean, unfortunately, they do have resources that are valuable. So, all right. Yeah, Doc. I think Detective Gray had given you a card with his like direct contact information on it.
He had, yeah, that's right.
And so this is like, I'm assuming this is like kind of afternoon-ish, probably like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So the line picks up. Does he have your number? So would he have your name in his phone? I don't think he would.
I think he has maybe one of my numbers, but it's probably a burner phone.
Okay, that's fair. So yeah, he answers and just says, "Detective Gray."
Hey, detective! Guess who it is?
A member of the Wahlberg family? It says, no, Dr. Scott, of course. One moment. And he kind of like finishes up like whatever you're pretty sure he's ordering a sandwich. And then like he steps away from the counter and he comes back on the phone.
Yeah, you got it, detective. It's good to hear from you. How's things down at PD?
Well, there's quite a bit of hubbub about this this vigilante, the Drake, escaping custody.
Oh, he got away from you boys?
Yes, I'm sure we're all shocked by that. Says,
Well.
but otherwise, things have been. He kind of hesitates before he says the word, and then he says, non-newsworthy for the last couple of days.
Well, it's always a good day when it's non-newsworthy, isn't it?
I can agree with that. How can I help you? No offense.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a situation down here our side. I was hoping maybe you could give us a little bit of a hand with it. You know, we scratch your back, you scratch ours, all that sort of stuff. Have you heard of facelift?
He says, the plastic surgery procedure?
No, more of the embodiment of the concept of it in a artificial intelligent robotic life form with biomimetic skin.
I appreciate the offer, but no, mine is a known number. He's more they are more likely to answer.
Okay.
I'm gonna call Cameron.
Okay.
And see if Cameron has any advice on where to grab some mystical text to track shards of the dagger from.
I will just pick her up and yeah, I'll go ahead and do it in the Princess Carrie mode and just casually pick her up and fly off.
Like a Superman with Lois Lane.
Yes, exactly.
What you can see of Ghost's face is red. Like,
She doesn't notice at all. Figures it's probably wind shear or something.
Exactly. We really need to get you a scarf next time. It's like this. The wind is terrible for your skin at this altitude.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Cameron does answer. Miss Wester. Hello. Are you there?
I am here.
Are you
Can you hear me
standing
over
in
the
a
wind?
wind tunnel that is actively trying to test the aerodynamics of an aircraft?
No, I'm in the air with Amber. I'm in the air with Amber. She's like talking to the.
What about the camber?
I'm coming to your house.
Oh, yes, excellent. I don't have much of a runway, but I can just land in the street outside. I can pay whatever the fees are.
So I'll fly us right up to the house and then which side's the front door on?
Right in the roundabout.
Okay. And she'll just land right in the middle of the roundabout.
Okay. The standard opening. You're pretty sure, Ghost, that there is a legit normal door in this place. But you get the feeling he likes that Cameron likes the pomp and circumstance of the whole thing, like opening up and like descending and everything like that. And once it kind of descends fully, Cameron is standing there. He's they're kind of got their arms crossed and they're in a like a bathrobe and. They've got normal clothes on underneath too, but the bathrobe is kind of the outer layer. Kind of
Arthur Dent chic. I like it. That's a good look.
Thank you.
Sure.
Cameron Tremblay, meet Amber. Amber? Cameron Tremblay.
Nice to meet you.
Are you just collecting them now?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am.
I suppose I can't necessarily argue with that. Amber, Cameron, pleasure to meet you. Please come in. I was just sitting down to a bowl, well, several bowls of cereal. Would you like some?
Sure.
Leads you into a
I would also like several bowls of cereal.
leads you into a small kitchen, kind of off this weird basement garage thing, that looks as if it really just caters to like things that you could eat directly out of the refrigerator. And of course, there's a couple cupboards. The cupboards are full of like all the sugary cereals that were popular back in like the 90s, for Saturday morning, kids on Saturday mornings. The ones that still are made anyways. And the ones that aren't made are like the cheap, like blue sticker knockoffs. And like all different kinds of milk, soy milk, oat milk, 2% whole milk, like yada, 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 as you open the refrigerator. And Cameron just says, help yourself. Says,
well,
I'm going to need to get some more spoons. I only keep one down here because when do I ever have anybody joining me for cereal? I'll be back in a moment. And
all right,
kind
thank
of
you.
trots off.
Amber will start pouring herself a big bowl of cereal. Basically, find the largest bowl she can find and fill it up.
The only bowls here are there. I would say that they're more like small woks than they are large bowls. Cameron takes their cereal very seriously.
And she knows she's a guest, so she'll find the one that like he has the most of.
Okay.
And then basically just pour the whole box into the bowl.
Okay. Let's see. Which one does he have do they have the most of? You know what? It's probably Kix.
I was actually gonna say Quix, the QIX one, but
Oh,
yeah,
God.
no, better. Trix is more common.
Yep.
So yep, she'll.
You mean KIX, right?
No, there was one that was QIX.
What?
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
never heard of this.
I saw a commercial for it once. It was the Quick, like the Nesquik chocolate flavored cereal thing, right?
I think so, and it had this really weird looking, almost Cubert-like mascot. Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. I did not know about that. I actually said Kix. KIX.
Yeah, no, I
so
figured that actually, yeah.
that's
That's
funny.
going to be the most common one. Or the one that he's least likely to eat, I think, too.
Yeah, Kix was always one of those cereals where it was like, I mean, I want something, but I want something different. Kix is fine, I guess. I'll go ahead and have that. It wasn't a bad cereal. It just wasn't as good as, like, I'm a Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries fan, so,
Or Oops All Berries.
You know what? Oops All Berries is blasphemy and is absolutely should not exist.
I'm a peanut butter Captain Crunch fan.
I do like peanut butter Captain Crunch. I also... Okay, so... I once got into a very long debate with a friend of mine about Fruity Pebbles versus Oops All Berries Captain Crunch, and I contend that they are very different things.
They are.
Thank you. Okay. This is
You
now...
agree?
This is
I
now
don't
a...
like Oops All Berries at all. I like Fruity Pebbles.
Agreed. 100% agreed. This is now a serial debate channel. It is no longer a superhero game.
Exactly. We're
Speaking
going to do
of,
a spin-off of this onto a new show.
speaking of, that's actually what Ghost, pours in a small amount, roughly a normal bowl amount, because she did skip breakfast this morning, but she's not that hungry yet.
Can't skip breakfast. It's the most important meal of the day.
I was running late.
I'm slightly shocked that you didn't pick Blueberry just to keep it on brand.
Blueberry.
Or is that...
I prefer Count Chocula, thank you very much.
Fair enough.
And when Cameron comes back, we will have this debate is all in character
Yes.
with Cameron, by the way.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they bring back a few spoons and kind of pass them around, pour themselves a bowl of... You know what? Lucky Charms. We're gonna go Lucky Charms.
Nice.
And kind of sits like they pull one of the bar stools around to the other side of the bar and kind of sit on it so they can face the two of you. And between like mouthfuls of cereal and a lot of crunching, says, "So what? I'm obviously it's good to see you. I love visitors, but what exactly is it that brought you here? Especially this early in the morning. It is 12:45 in the afternoon. Just to be clear."
You know the stories of the Grand Theurge.
Grand Theurge. Rings a bell.
Brief overview of him then.
Yeah, Cameron kind of like listens and says, "Oh yeah, something about this like animal spirit cult or something." Very let's be honest, very Eurocentric sort of appropriative take on the whole thing. My understanding, but yes, I'm familiar with his work, so to speak.
Yeah, well, he showed up today and stole parts of that crystal heart.
When he showed up, it's been 100 years. He's dead.
We'd like to think so, but Amber, if you could show him your phone.
Well, I only have pictures of the hand, but yes. I
Do you feel that you can see that there's like two hands in the picture?
Yeah.
Absolutely prehistoric. What? Although those rings are quite. Wait. Cameron does the thing where he tilts the phone, but it's got auto rotate on, so they keep like rotating it several times until finally, like, very frustrated, turns off the auto rotate and says, I recognize that.
Okay.
There's a family in town, the Fayettes. Morgana Fayette. She's a friend. Well, she's an acquaintance. We run in the same circles, you know, the whole we have lots of money thing. Let me get you in touch with her. One moment. Takes out their own phone and kind of pulls up a, contact and does the whole like, there, I've airdropped it to you.
Thank you.
If she asks where you got the number, don't tell her it was me. She gets very cranky about her privacy.
We totally understand that point of view.
Oh, right, the mask. Oh, maybe I should... Hold on a moment. They take out their phone and they send a quick text. And well, I might as well enjoy our cereal while she gets back to me. I probably should have asked her before I sent the number. Just let's forget I did that, shall we?
And during this intervening period is where that whole debate about cereal happens.
Perfect. Finally, gets a notification, checks their phone, says, she says it's all right for you to contact her.
Excellent.
In short, there's much, much more here, but I'll just give you the most relevant part for you. But the reason she came to mind is she has a locket, some sort of family heirloom, hand-me-down trinket. Has a very similar. They take Amber's phone again and kind of show the ring that's kind of like rotated so that it's upside down. Cameron says the symbols on it are very similar in design, not identical. I've got an eye for these sorts of detail, but it's very distinctive, and I've admired that locket she has for quite some time. Offered to buy it from her a few times, and she absolutely refuses.
Well, family heirlooms are a thing.
I suppose. But, yes.
If we're going up against a mystical man, do you happen to know any collectors in town of books, magical tomes, that sort of thing? Might be helpful.
Morgana's probably the one to speak to. She's She's had at least a passing interest in such things for quite some time. I know a lot about the history, but the actual boogity aspect of it is, well, not really. Doesn't really hold my interest much.
Sure, I understand. No, it's wasn't on my radar until recently either.
I didn't even know it existed.
There are more things in heaven and earth, as they say.
Indeed, Horatio, indeed.
So, Amber.
Yes.
Amber?
Yes. That's my name.
Perhaps a rebranding.
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Perhaps a rebranding.
Why?
Not that Amber is a bad name by any means. It's a very pretty name. A very pretty stone, in fact. But it doesn't really evoke the... Ha-ha!
Well, it wasn't the name I was gonna use, but just when it happened, that was the name I gave, and I don't know. I think it's a good name.
It's a very strange... It's a very strange instinct to simply... garnet, ruby, emerald. Why Amber?
Well, I have this amber necklace that I've always worn, so, that's... I don't know, maybe that's why I thought of it.
That doesn't look like it's going to stand up very well in any sort of a scuffle, is it?
Well, I tuck it down inside the costume. And the
Titanium chain, that's what you need. Next time we see each other, I'll...
Actually,
Oh!
Yeah.
Well, it's never bad to have a spare. But next time we see each other, I'll have one for you.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you.
It says, all right, well, I have very important business to attend to, so off. Shoo.
Of course. Thank you for breakfast.
Yes, thank you very much. Amber,
Breakfast? It's lunchtime. You need to work on your day-to-day habits.
So says the coach. She runs out after Amber has started walking out. She looks back and, knowing Cameron knows who she is, goes, so says the coach.
He kind of pauses for a second and gives you a very, very strange look. And then kind of shakes it off and kind of like goes about his business.
Amber will say, I got kind of turned around getting out of here. Do you just want to go out a window?
No, we just walk right up.
Oh, okay.
We go up the ramp, and the ramp starts closing behind us as we walk up.
Okay.
There used to be some kind of supervillain's lair,
It looks like that.
right? It's a great aesthetic. I do like it, but
It's gorgeous, but I just had this instinct when we arrived to just punch a hole through the wall. It just felt like that's what you should do.
see, then it's working right. It's working right for them. They got it working.
Cameron has to pay an extra insurance premium just for that. Everybody's going to go ahead and get your cards back. KJ, I need you to give me a willpower action, please, to resist the shock.
Yeah, let's go for a 14.
Okay, so 14, and I'm going to go ahead and play one of those cards I got from the Doom cards. All right, so go ahead and draw your card back. and then you're gonna take 2 points of damage from like the strain of this like very bizarre, very visceral fear that kind of washes over you as this thing like jumps at you.
Yeah. Bye-bye, Kingpin. Let me go away now.
All right. So that card is not going to be redrawn until until a fight breaks out and we get a narrator card, or you go through the effort of like actively recuperating, which will eat into whatever investigation time you've got. So it's up to you if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Do you have any physical reaction to this?
He kind of recoils and like falls back on his butt.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess Dr. Scott will go over and say, "Hey, kiddo, you okay?"
Yeah. That. Okay.
Yeah, post-cognition can have some really deleterious side effects.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a headache.
Need a moment?
I'm fine.
Dr. Scott, not Dr. Scott, Detective Gray, actually, like, without, almost like muscle memory, reaches into, like, the inside pocket of his blazer and pulls out, like, one of those small travel bottles of, like, Tylenol and, like, kind of holds it out in case you want some.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
You're all right.
He even hands you his coffee in case you need to wash it down.
Thank you. I hate dry firing.
Says my younger sister has a bit of, well, our mom calls it the gift. So
Yeah.
seems like you got it bad though.
It's pretty strong sometimes. It's unusual when whatever I'm looking at looks back. So that's a new one.
He's pulled his notebook and his pen out at this point and is basically like flipped to a page and he's poised to take notes on whatever it is you're going to tell him.
Yeah, and I will, like, word for word, like, picture for picture, photographic memory, relay all of that to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
He takes copious notes. Dr. Scott, obviously you now know all this information as well because it was relayed to you. Detective Gray he kind of pauses when you get to the dragon and he's like, I'm sorry, what?
Dragon. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Folk don't know their dragons from their Bigfoots and their werewolves. You can't trust anything that members of the public say. But KJ's gifts, they're the real deal.
Well, the werewolf creature that these people say they saw, it's probably the creature that left the scene. Whatever it was that looked at me and then ran, I think that's probably what the witnesses saw.
Some sort of spirit monster that got summoned or something.
Yeah.
Hey.
Detective Gray kind of like rubs his temple. He says, Portland PD isn't exactly equipped to handle spirits, so...
I mean, I don't know that we're equipped to handle spirits, but we'll do what we can.
And Dr. Scott take a closer look at the body to try and discern what's happened exactly. Maybe get some samples that might, reveal a little bit more what this thing might have been that damaged it, random.
Sure, give me an intellect action.
Okay. Around my uncharted waters appropriately hard.
Okay. And then that is a boost card, so you'll get to draw another one. Ooh, and that is the intellect boost card that you always want to see. So go ahead and draw another one.
a bit of a biological genius, you know.
Damn.
A little bit. That's a 29 total. That's that's pretty good. All
I
right.
have to look at the samples back at the lab a bit more, but
Go ahead and draw your card back, Dr. Scott. As you're going through and you're kind of like collecting samples and everything like that, the one of the CSI techs is like, "Hey, we already did that." And Detective Gray kind of like waves him off. And
I'll pleased with you if I find anything important.
Detective Gray says, "Oh, we appreciate that." And then, kind of as you finish her collecting this, you're like, "Well, I think I'm done here." Something kind of clicks in your brain. You're like, "Wait a second, the dragon thing got shot." And so you ask Detective Gray, like, "Hey, where'd you guys find the gun? Like, did you guys find a gun?" And he like takes you over there. You're able to find like basically a patch of blood on the grass. It's dried, obviously, but you're able to kind of like collect a number of grass clippings and everything like that, enough that you think you can probably get some sort of information or data from.
See this, KJ? Now this is the gold standard.
Good job.
So Detective Gray says, "All right, so look, this is where things get awkward. Discussion of jurisdiction and things like that. I mean, you guys don't technically have jurisdiction to be investigating, but at the same time, I don't want to send any of my guys out somewhere that's going to get them killed."
Yeah.
So, if you are willing to officially sign yourselves off as under my supervision for this case, then I can effectively deputize you for the purposes of this investigation. That would mean that you do answer to me and to the department for the duration, though. Do either of you have law as a...
I don't have law.
No, but I do have manipulation, and I was wondering.
I've terminology, but I don't have law yet.
Okay, a willpower or an intelligence, an intellect action from whichever of you would like to give those. You can both give me one, basically. You two just coordinate which one you're going to give.
I'll take the willpower.
And I guess I'll do the intellect action.
Okay. KJ, let's have you go first.
Yeah, let's go big. Why not? 17.
17, not bad. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and draw your... Actually, don't draw your card back yet. Dr. Scott, go ahead and do your intellect action for me.
Okay.
Gotta love those intellect cards. Ooh, and I love the Doom cards. Man, those are just coming fast and furious today.
Yeah.
I still have... And I've got 2 now that I'm holding on to, so...
Gonna get some more too. I got 2 in my hand.
I can't wait. I'm looking at them, salivating. So, KJ, you got a 17, and Dr. Scott, you got a 7. No. An 18, right? Because 9 intellect plus. Okay. All right. So you're not. KJ, go and draw your card back, and then Dr. Scott, go and draw your card back. So, KJ, you can tell that this guy has... He's not trying to screw you guys.
Yeah.
But he is very much like... He's not being completely forthcoming with this arrangement. Like, he clearly wants to keep you on as tight a leash as possible. And so he's like, if you're going to be involved, at least if they're officially, technically deputized under the Vigilantes Act, which is a thing, then, you know, he's able to like kind of minimize and hold you accountable and stuff like that. Dr. Scott, you're not a legal expert by any means, but you're smart enough. You read through technical documents enough that, like, when you read through the union contract, you picked up on a number of things in there that were basically like, the union does not answer to the local police department except in situations where it's been declared as an emergency, like the city of Portland or the state or whatever declares it as an emergency. In which case, the Vigilantes Union chapter can technically be sort of like conscripted, quote unquote, either into law enforcement or into the National Guard, which has happened in one case before. It's kind of a landmark deal. But technically, outside of those declared emergencies, they're not really supposed to, they're not really supposed to try and flex on you guys. Can they? Sure, they can try it. Will they get their hands slapped? Probably. Have they gotten away with it before? Yes. So how you want to handle that information is up to you two.
Do I know if they have an obligation to share information with us?
That is an excellent question. They do not. There's an obligation for you to share information with them, if you are officially deputized, but they do not have to share information with you. You kind of become sort of the low man on the totem pole from a like need to know perspective.
Just give me a minute, detective. I gotta talk to my associate here.
He's like, yeah, sure.
I know this to KJ. Say, safe for now. Go with it, but with a little caveat. Sound good to you?
Yeah. No, I mean, I've met this man before, and, not like this. So, he has some distrust of our type, but he does seem like a good detective. And, yeah, no, I mean, we need to be able to establish a good working relationship. So, of course, let's...
Okay, we'll
yeah,
with the
caveat of information sharing on both ends. We need to, whatever this is needs to be stopped. So, yeah.
Okay, detective. I know you got complex legal issues with the sharing of information and all that. So, for now, I know we're working this out on the fly. For now, go with your plan. But I gotta insist. This shapes up to be a proper super threat situation, then we take the lead. Anything domestic, any common or garden crime, we take your lead. That sound fair?
Give me a persuasion. Give me a willpower action. I'll allow leadership to be considered half skilled for this one, because leadership and manipulation will give you basically the effect of having half the skill. So it'll give you a little bonus of 2 instead of the normal 4, because manipulation and leadership are in the same vein. So
yeah, okay. Cool. I will throw out this big old Doom.
Yes, another Doom card. Yeah. Oh. That's a pretty card. I'm very happy with that. That is the 8 of willpower. All right. So I will take that Doom card over there. You can go ahead and redraw your card. Whoops! I just set my frame off center. That's. Ooh, Dr. Scott's feeling very dodgy today.
All right.
Okay, and he says. Yeah, if we run into anything that's outside our normal purview, we'll make sure to get in touch with you. And I'll see to it that any of our reports get sent to you immediately, so that you have access to them as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
That detective.
Yeah.
I think my guys and I are going to go after this Stevens. He kind of checks his notes and says, we'll see if we can track him down.
All right.
If we manage to get him for questioning, we'll make sure you know about it so you can be there. And he kind of looks at KJ and says, "I get the feeling that you might be useful in that matter, if it comes down to it." He says, "But in the meantime, what are the two of you going to do?"
We gotta take stock of this. I gotta do some tests, and then we'll do a little more investigating. Let you know.
All right. Well, thank you both very much for coming out. He shakes your hands. Actually, he goes to shake KJ your hand. He would have handed you a wet wipe, after you touched the remains, so you can clean your hands off, and then he'll make sure your hand is clean. Then he shakes your hand.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
he kind of nods and says, "We'll be in touch." And he takes a business card and he hands a business card to both of you. Says, "That's my direct line if you need me."
Great.
Thanks, detective.
Well, when we last left off, I believe Dr. Scott was having a conversation with Dr. Gray regarding Facelift, the...
Detective Gray.
Sorry, what did I say?
Doctor.
Thank you, Detective Gray. They both start with D.
It's understandable.
fine.
There's a lot of doctors in this game.
There are a lot of doctors in this game, yes. Yes, Detective Gray, regarding Facelift and whether or not Detective Gray is familiar with Facelift as a person of an entity of interest, person of interest. Yeah, I think AI has a certain level of sentience and thus personhood, so I think person is applicable. Anybody who wants to debate that with me, feel free to get in the comments. I'm happy to drive engagement on the videos. So yes, specifically, Dr. Scott had said something along the lines of it being a man-made personification of the concept of a facelift given physical form using biomimetic skin or something like that. It was a very technical description. And Detective Gray being not he's no slouch in the in the brains department, but he's not a super scientist by any means. I think that definitely made him pause for a moment, probably a couple of blinks towards his phone, and then he's going to say, I can't say as I'm familiar with what you're talking about, no.
Sorry, someone just decided to throw everything on my desk off.
It was a very, very important matter.
Oh my god, your cat's like my cat.
Oh, it's so cute. We can edit this part out. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Cats.
Okay. I imagine at the same time as this is happening, PT or Washington or someone is causing trouble in Dr. Scott's immediate purview.
Yes, exactly.
Get off! No, not you, detective. Sorry. Just got a little bit of a vermin problem here. So, well, it's kind of like this. It's an artificial entity, intelligent artificial entity that can kind of change its face. Listen, I'm going to send you over some documents I have. Might help you maybe narrow things down in any incidents you've had lately, any unusual happenings. I don't know. It could be of interest. I'm going to send the detective what I've got in the interests of cooperation between our department and theirs.
Okay. All right. He'll definitely appreciate that. Are you staying on the phone with him while he kind of like gives him a quick look over, or are you just sending him to him and kind of?
Yeah, I'll stay on the phone for now. I don't think we're in any rush unless Compiler busts in. And well, Larry busts in going, "We've got to go now," or anything like that. Then I think Dr. Scott will be patient. She's got her coffee. She's gonna drink that and try and wrangle her
Okay.
possums and raccoon. And, yeah.
He's gonna say, he kind of like, you hear him kind of muttering. He's kind of clearly looking at it on his phone because you can hear him kind of like interacting with his phone, like kind of muffled, like sounds of, just like him tapping the screen and things like that. And then he kind of like absentmindedly goes and picks up his sandwich from the counter where he placed the order. You kind of hear that interaction in the background, and then finally comes back to you a minute or so later, and he says, "I remember this break-in at Hark Media. They were very insistent that the whole thing be kept in-house only for the most part. It was a bit of a fiasco, if you ask me. I guess it makes sense why they were being so hush-hush, considering what this thing is capable of doing."
Yeah. You learn anything special from that, or?
He says, "Well, from what you sent me specifically, no, but I might have." Let me see here. He says, "I might be able to use this to look up some information. Are you looking specifically for possible targets that this thing might have?"
Yeah, anything like that would be real helpful right now, because quite frankly, we got very little.
All right. Says, let me see what I can do. I should have some information back to you within... No, I should have some information back to you within half an hour.
Great. How's your daughter doing, by the way?
She's doing well enough. We found some folks who I think are going to be able to help her out. So, just trying to lead as normal a life as possible, one day at a time.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Okay, detective. Good to speak to you.
Bye. And he hangs up. All right. While that conversation was going on, Compiler, what about you? What are you doing?
Well, I think probably Compiler doesn't really know where to start looking for facelift, but lacking any kind of like psychological training. I can't really build a profile of what it's doing, but we did get a list of all the people it was sort of trained to duplicate. So I was thinking maybe it could be cross-referencing social media of people who know those people to see if there were any mentions of unusual, out-of-character behavior, anything that might stick out, that sort of thing.
Okay. So I think that specifically what you guys had previously gotten was it was a de-identified list of subjects that were basically they had interacted with Facelift, and Facelift kind of used those interactions and those observations to sort of work on putting together like an attempt at duplicating those people. So you've got demographics as far as subject one was, this ethnicity, this age, this gender, this this socioeconomic background, like a lot of census criteria or variables, but not so much actual identities. I think
Okay, that's my mistake. I thought we had the names.
That's okay. So, but you could. The social media idea is actually not a bad one because, I mean, if there are people acting particularly strange or whatever, and that, that's the kind of thing that today's generation would post, like, video of their sister doing something bizarre or whatever. So, I mean, that's a possibility if you want to take that route.
I think that's the only route I have right now, so
Okay.
until we find another clue, that's where I'm starting the search, regardless of how ridiculously large the field is.
So this is kind of an interesting one. I am gonna say that compiler probably isn't. I'm gonna base this on willpower rather than intellect because I feel like
Okay.
making coherent sense of social media is more of a social skill than it is like a brain power skill. However, because like algorithms are a thing and whatnot, I think your computer skill will apply at least partially. So it'll give you a +2 to this particular action. But yeah, I'm gonna rule it as a willpower action to go through and do this. Which now that I look at your
Okay.
cards, I realize is a little bit mean of me, but
No, that's just how it goes sometimes. I totally get it. Honestly, yeah, I think just looking at the cards I've got, I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Impossible Man over there because, frankly, we need something impossible to happen right now.
okay. The impossible occurs. You know what? Dang it, I really like that event for this particular action. All right, so that'll be 5 plus your willpower of 7 is
7.
12 plus 2 from the skill is 14. All right, I'm gonna move this over here into the discard pile. You can go ahead and draw that card back, and
Yep.
oh, dang. Okay.
I
Now you
should
get
have
the
top decked
will.
it.
Yeah, exactly. That would have paid off really well for you. Okay, so here's kind of what happens with that. So, Dr. Scott, you have your conversation with the detective. Compiler, you kind of start running this, kind of fairly comprehensive search of social media platforms. I have to ask, what are compilers like? TikTok. What's compiler's TikTok username? Because compiler
I don't
has
know
to
if it
sign up
has
for.
one for itself.
Oh, but it has to sign up for an account in order to be able to like view stuff. Otherwise, it gets that pop up that says you should sign in if you want to keep watching TikTok.
Oh, absolutely, but I don't, it doesn't have a personal account, so I'm thinking it's probably just made one that's like a random string of numbers. It doesn't actually mean anything.
Okay, gotcha. It's like one of those like hyper secure passwords that you can get generated for you.
Yes,
on the internet.
exactly.
Yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. Okay. So you're running that sort of like search. I imagine Spot is probably like helping your, kind of, what's it called when you have like multiple computers processing for the same thing? Like SETI was the whole idea. Anyways, so the two of you are basically kind of going through and sifting through information and stuff like that. And about a half an hour later, Dr. Scott, you get a text from the detective saying that there are 2 reports that caught their attention, or that caught his attention when he was kind of like running a few searches on their end. One is for a woman named Lani Rodriguez. She is mixed race, Asian, Hispanic American. She works at a place called the Pearl District Cleaners in Portland. And she submitted a police report and has told a number of family members that she was kidnapped and basically held in her home. And then at for 2 days, just about 2 days, and at the end of that time, or like during that time, someone impersonating her would come home and check on her, make sure she was fed and get some water, let her use the restroom, that kind of thing, and then would bind her and put her back in the closet. But that the person never hurt her or anything like that. And she basically reported the most bizarre thing is that this person still picked her kids up and dropped them off at school, went to work, put in her hours for her shifts. Like, so far as she can tell, this person didn't do anything weird with her life other than impersonate her and live her life for 2 days.